My headlights caught a figure waving me down, wearing my clothes. I'd been driving for hours, the road a thin black ribbon cut into the dark hills. My headlights barely reached past the bends, and the fog had thickened again, clinging to the asphalt like wet cloth. There wasn't another car in sight, and the radio had gone dead somewhere near the last gas station. No signal, nothing but the engine humming and the tires slicing through the night. It was then I saw the figure. At first, I thought it was a trick of the fog, a wet, rolling shape caught in my headlights. But as I slowed, squinting, I realized it was a person standing at the edge of the lane. Waving. My stomach clenched. The waving hand, the stance, it wasn't frantic, like someone in danger, it was calm, measured. Intentional. The oddest thing, they were wearing my clothes. Not just similar, but unmistakably mine. The gray hoodie I'd thrown on that morning, the faded jeans with the frayed seam on the left knee, the old sneakers with scuffed toes. My clothes. On someone else. I swerved slightly, instinctively hitting the brakes, and the tires whispered against wet asphalt. The figure stepped forward, closer to the center line, raising a hand in the same slow, deliberate wave. I should have been terrified, but the night had been so long, the isolation so complete, that my first reaction was a quiet, disbelieving shock. I pulled the car to the shoulder, heart thudding, and rolled down the window. "Hey," I said. My voice sounded foreign in the car, too loud, too sharp in the enclosed space. "Do you need help?" The figure paused, head tilting slightly, like it was listening, like it was thinking. I swear it mimicked my hesitation, the tilt of my own jaw, the slight squint of my eyes as I studied it. And then, it waved again, slower this time, almost as if waiting for me to recognize it. I should have locked the doors. I should have floored it and gone. But something, nervous curiosity, or a compulsion I couldn't name, made me reach for the passenger side door. The air was cold and damp. The fog pressed against the glass. I stepped out, and the world narrowed to the figure and me. I could see its face now, pale in the car's headlights, features vague, smudged by fog. There was something achingly familiar about it. Something that felt mine. Who are you?" I asked. The figure didn't answer. Didn't speak at all. Instead, it took a small step forward. And then another. Its movements were precise, deliberate, almost rehearsed. I realized my pulse had slowed, my body was locked somewhere between curiosity and disbelief. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't cooperate. I glanced at the dashboard clock. 1:17 a.m. Odd. I could have sworn it had read 1:03 a moment ago. I blinked. The time flickered in my mind like a failing bulb. My sense of elapsed time had become unreliable, like the fog had crept into my perception, stretching moments into minutes and compressing hours into seconds. "Look," I said, trying to inject some authority into my voice. "You need to go. This road, it's dangerous." The figure paused, and for a terrifying second, I felt like I was staring at myself. The hoodie, the jeans, the stance, they were exactly as I would stand. And then, the impossible part, the figure raised its hand, but not in a wave. It adjusted the hood in the same way I always did when the wind hit the back of my neck. I stumbled backward. This isn't right," I muttered, and the words felt hollow. The fog shifted. The world changed subtly, almost imperceptibly. I realized the shadows were wrong, longer than they should be, stretching at unnatural angles, flicking as though disturbed by an unseen hand. I could hear the distant trickle of water where there was supposed to be none, the hiss of tires where the road was dry. My senses, so grounded moments ago, were betraying me. "Who are you?" I asked again, louder, trying to break the silent spell. The figure didn't answer, but it stepped closer. Its movements were fluid, too deliberate, as if it were practicing a memory of me I had forgotten. And that was when I noticed the reflection, or rather, the lack of one. In the fogged glass of my windshield, the figure's face was blank, featureless, and yet, unmistakably mine. A sudden flicker. My hands, holding the keys, seemed smaller, weaker. I felt my heartbeat stutter in the chest. I could hear the faint, unsteady hiss of breath behind me, like another pair of lungs moving in tandem with mine. But no one was there. Only the figure, now closer, still silent. I tried to turn back to the car. My body obeyed sluggishly, like walking through deep water. The headlights revealed something new. A long streak of tire tracks on the wet asphalt, starting somewhere far behind me, but they ended abruptly, as if the car had never been there. Or as if it had been someone, or something, driving it in place of me. I froze. My hands, my face, my voice, all of them felt borrowed, unfamiliar. Like I was slowly detaching from myself. The figure moved again, this time reaching into its pocket, mirroring exactly the motion I made every morning when I checked my phone for messages. But there was no phone. Just an empty pocket. It was mimicking me, perfectly, even down to the gestures I barely noticed about myself. I wanted to scream, but no sound came. My lips moved, but the fog swallowed my voice. And then I noticed the first memory inconsistency. I had a sudden, crystal clear flash of driving this road before, last week. Last year. The details slipped away like water through fingers. And in that memory, I wasn't alone. There was someone wearing my clothes. Someone waving me down. And I had shrugged it off. Forgotten. You, I whispered, voice hoarse, trembling. You're me. The figure tilted its head again, eerily in sync with my own unconscious movements. Then it smiled, or I think it did. The expression wasn't quite human, or perhaps it was too human, too perfect. And then it raised a hand and waved slowly, deliberately, mimicking my wave from the car moments ago. My vision blurred. The roadside signs I passed before were gone, or replaced. The fog thickened into a wall. The air smelled faintly of gasoline and iron, but in a way that was wrong, both sharp and stale at the same time. My own memories were slipping in and out, flashes of previous drives, dinners, conversations, all of them blurred, rearranged, as if someone, or something, was rewriting my history while I watched. I stumbled back. The figure didn't chase me, didn't call out. It simply stood there, perfectly still, waiting. And then I realized. It was waiting for me to step aside. To let it replace me. A cold panic surged. I turned to run, to get back in the car. But the car was gone. Not just out of view, gone. The fog swallowed the tires, the doors, the engine. The headlights were nothing but light floating in darkness. And then I saw it. Another pair of headlights, dim and far down the road, where I knew I had parked before. And inside, I glimpsed a shadow that moved like me, wearing my clothes, gripping the wheel exactly as I would. I fell to my knees, trying to remember my own name, the sound of my own voice. My hands felt wrong. I was wrong. And yet, the figure, my double, stood there, perfectly still, watching, waiting, patient beyond any measure of time I could grasp. I remember crawling forward, instinctively, drawn to it. And when I looked up, I saw the flash of a memory that should have been mine but wasn't. I remembered waving at myself on this road, long ago. Waving, smiling, feeling the same calm, deliberate anticipation. And I had walked past it, forgotten it, left it behind in the fog. The realization hit me slowly, impossibly. I was not the first. Not the original. And perhaps, quietly, I had always been the second. I closed my eyes. The fog thickened, and when I opened them, the figure was gone. The road stretched empty, wet asphalt glinting in dim, ghostly light. I could hear nothing but my own breathing, or was it? The faint, almost imperceptible echo of footsteps. A wave of nausea hit me, and my reflection in a puddle across the road looked slightly wrong. My hoodie's hood was pulled too high, my jeans too clean, my hands too steady. I got back in the car, or what I thought was my car. The engine started with a shuddering cough, and the headlights caught the road ahead. Nothing. No sign of the figure. I drove. Miles. Hours. The memory of the encounter slipped from my mind like water draining from a basin. And yet, sometimes, when the fog rolls in thick and the radio goes dead, I swear I feel it behind me. Watching. Waiting. Waving in the way only I can. Sometimes, I even catch a glimpse of my own clothes, hanging neatly in the passenger seat, or worn by someone standing in the mist, just beyond the headlights. And for a moment, fleeting but undeniable, I remember, I have been here before. And I will be here again. Because the road never forgets, and neither does it forgive. And when the headlights catch a figure waving me down, wearing my clothes, well, I can't help but wave back. The road ahead narrowed to a single lane, though the map insisted it was a 4-lane highway. I had been driving for hours, the tires humming a low, constant note beneath me, headlights cutting through the fog that pooled like stagnant water over the asphalt. The GPS on my phone glowed pale and insistent, a little rectangle of certainty in a world that was rapidly becoming uncertain. At first, the road had been perfectly normal. 4 lanes, gentle curves, the occasional reflective sign catching the headlights and vanishing again into darkness. I was alone, and the night was quiet except for the low drone of my engine. Somewhere between the last town and the next, the fog thickened, pressing against the windshield and side mirrors like wet cloth. The yellow lane markers shimmered and disappeared under the mist, leaving me uncertain where the road actually ran. The GPS reassured me. Continue straight for 4 miles, it said. The road remains a 4-lane highway. I trusted it. I had to. And yet, when the bend opened up, my headlights caught the first impossibility. The road ahead narrowed to a single lane. It wasn't gradual. It wasn't a construction zone or a merging lane. One moment, 4 asphalt ribbons stretched across the fog. The next, they had contracted into a lone, narrow strip, edges indistinct, fading into darkness at the margins. I slowed instinctively, gripping the wheel, my pulse hammering in the hollow silence. No, that can't be right, I muttered. My hands shook slightly as I tapped the GPS screen. It says 4 lanes. 4 lanes. The device didn't answer. It just glowed, stubbornly showing a perfect, unbroken highway. I glanced at the side of the road, but there were no construction cones, no guardrails, no signs of merging. Only fog, black trees, and asphalt that seemed to be bending in ways that defied logic. I pressed on. The road was narrow but smooth, as if the earth had reshaped itself beneath me while I wasn't looking. A sense of wrongness grew, subtle but insistent. The lane markers ahead vanished entirely. Then they returned. Wrong. Jagged, uneven lines that curved where they should have been straight, doubling themselves, sometimes splitting into ghost lanes that disappeared before I could reach them. Every time I checked the GPS, it insisted the road was perfect. 4 lanes, straight and unbroken. But the world outside the windshield did not obey the map. It had a mind of its own. And then the first signs appeared. Yellow diamond shapes, reflective in my headlights, flashing warnings that made my stomach turn cold. Caution. Highway shrinks ahead. I blinked. Highways didn't shrink. And the next sign, further down, read, "Welcome to Lanford County, population 2094. I frowned. Lanford County. I had never passed through it before, or so I thought. I checked the GPS. Nothing. The route didn't mention a county line for another 30 miles. I felt my chest tighten. The fog grew denser, pressing against the headlights until the beams fractured like broken glass. Every tree lining the road seemed too close, too deliberate, shadows stretching sideways instead of downward, as if the world had tilted slightly out of alignment. My tires hummed unevenly over the asphalt, though the road looked smooth. I tried to shake off the unease, muttering to myself. Just fog. Just tired. Nothing else. And yet, the road responded. Where I expected a gentle curve, the asphalt bent sharper, forcing me to steer more than necessary. Where I anticipated a straight stretch, the lane markings doubled, then vanished, leaving a blank stretch of blackness. The road wasn't fixed. It was living, adapting. Every correction I made was anticipated. Every hesitation mirrored in the environment. I checked the GPS again. Continue. Straight for 3 miles. The map was calm, unflinching, a perfect ribbon of certainty. My headlights, however, revealed jagged, uncertain lines, an asphalt puzzle that refused to obey physics. A faint whisper of sound reached me over the engine. I froze, straining. A light tapping, like fingernails on metal, came from somewhere behind the fog. The sound moved with me, keeping pace with my car, yet when I glanced in the rearview mirror, there was nothing. Only black. Only the fog. I sped up, though a part of me knew that speed did nothing against this road. It didn't matter how fast I drove, the road always bent to meet me. Always adapted. And then, the lane markings did something impossible. They narrowed ahead into a single line, again, but this time with a faint, glowing duplicate to the right. Not a lane. Not an extension of asphalt. A shadow lane. A phantom. I felt a sharp, irrational panic. My pulse was loud in my ears. The GPS continued its calm instructions. 4 lanes, straight, uninterrupted. The contradiction made my vision swim. I reached out to touch the screen. I needed confirmation. I needed reality. And then the signs returned. More numerous, more specific, and wrong in ways that made my head ache. Fallbrook. Next exit 1 mile. Speed limit. 55 hazard zone. Caution. Road used by returning travelers. Returning travelers. The words twisted my stomach. The letters were familiar, but the phrasing wasn't natural. My hands gripped the wheel tighter. My own route memory felt like it had frayed at the edges. Had I driven this way before? I didn't think so. I couldn't remember. And yet, there was a deep, crawling familiarity in the curve of the lane, the way the fog pressed in, the shape of the road. I slowed. My mind raced. The road had gone from confusing to threatening in the span of minutes, though it was quiet. No horns, no other cars, no animals. Just me and the asphalt, adapting, responding, anticipating. I tried to take a deep breath. I tried to anchor myself. And then the worst part came. The map shifted. Not on the GPS screen, but in my mind's eye. A memory flashed. A bend, a narrow lane, a drive that ended in confusion. And yet, the memory felt borrowed, not mine. A version of me, driving the road. The same fog. The same narrowing lane. I shook my head violently. No, that's not real. I've never. The headlights revealed another impossibility. Ahead, the single lane widened, not into 4, but into 2. And in the middle of the road, perfectly aligned with my car, a faint impression of another lane appeared, empty, waiting, as though it had been erased for me. I could feel it before I saw it. The road remembered me. It remembered where I had been, and it remembered where I was supposed to go. The fog thickened further. The road's edges dissolved into black nothingness. I could no longer see trees, signs, guardrails. Only asphalt and mist. And then, just at the corner of my vision, I thought I saw a shape, a shadow in the phantom lane, flickering as if it were moving alongside me. I spun the wheel, but it stayed. Always beside me, always anticipating. I stopped. I turned off the engine. Silence. Absolute. My heartbeat felt louder than the world. The GPS glowed silently. 4 lanes ahead. The road in front of me was a single strip, fogged over, bleeding into black. I stepped out of the car. Wet grass under my shoes. Cold mist on my skin. The road stretched endlessly, narrowing further into the fog, impossible angles twisting ahead. And then I understood. The map wasn't wrong. It was showing the road as it used to be. Years ago, or decades, I had driven it. Or someone like me had. A traveler returned, repeated, forgotten. The lane markers, the signs, the adaptations, they weren't errors. They were memories. They were warnings. They were traps. I felt the cold stab of recognition. I had been here before. And the road had remembered me. I climbed back into the car. The headlights illuminated the single lane ahead. The fog pulsed, dense and alive. I couldn't remember exactly when I had driven this road before, or how it had ended. But the awareness settled like ice in my chest. The road had seen me, and the road had waited. I pressed the accelerator. The single lane stretched ahead, winding through fog and darkness. Behind me, the phantom shapes of erased lanes flickered in the mist. And in the quiet, unrelenting logic of the asphalt, I realized the truth. This was not the first time I had been here. And unless I drove carefully, it would not be the last. The road ahead narrowed further. My headlights carved a thin, trembling path. And the map, unwavering, insisted there were 4 lanes.